Welcome everybody to Masters of Real Estate. Today I have a very good friend on the line here, Deborah Razo, that has a very extensive experience in real estate. I've known her for absolute years in this space. An all-around great person, really ethical and honest, and has so much experience doing tons of different deal types and development and single-family homes and rental properties and multifamily. It's exciting to have her on the line today because she's got a unique approach and has some great education and focuses on helping women, empower women to create financial freedom in their life through her REN network. And super excited to have you, Deborah. Thank you so much for joining me. Can you give a little bit of background on your experience and how you got started in real estate in the first place?
Sure. And thank you for having me, Matthew. It's always nice to see you. And I know we've been, journeying together. I mean, you've been at this a lot longer than I have, but I started my journey in real estate about 15, 16 years ago now. And it was really kind of an odd way that I got introduced to it. And I have been an entrepreneur for 30 years. And I'll be honest with you, my beginning entrepreneurs, I was a lone wolf entrepreneur. I did everything myself.
Right. Like most people too.
Yeah, I didn't own a business. I was the business, right?
Self-employed trap, right.
And then I got into a car accident, and it was a blown tire, and the car flipped, and they flipped driver's side first. So I was a passenger, and I got the impact of that.
Oh.
And I was air vac to a hospital, and they needed to stop the bleeding in my head wound, but I was told I had a broken neck. And it took me a little over a year to heal. And during that time, I had a lot of time to think, honestly. And I didn't have a bad life, but it wasn't the life I wanted. And, I had read the Little Purple Book about passive income. Prior to that, I was not ready to indulge and go, that's what I want. And
right.
That turning point in my life. And I think a lot of people have those kind of turning points, right? And sometimes it's a divorce or the death of a loved one, physical health, these turning points in our lives give us that opportunity to go in a different direction.
Right.
And that's what I did. I went in a different direction and I said, you know what? I want passive income. I want to live a lifestyle that's different than the grind that I was living then. I want a different grind.
Right. That's awesome.
If I only knew then what I knew now.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that's when I started educating myself in real estate. I was like, I wanted the passiveness. I didn't have a lot of money. My brother ended up taking care of me when I was sick. And so he actually lent me the money and I first flipped a house, which by the way is not passive income for anybody listening.
Not at all. Not one bit passive.
Not a one bit passive, but terribly addictive to me. I am an addict. I still flip. I don't need to, but I still flip. I just really enjoy it. I really enjoy flipping. But I started building a business model when I was starting out, and I was flipping and then taking that money and reinvesting in passive income. And at first that was single family homes, and then it grew to multifamilies and hotels and all kinds of things. So, so it's been a journey of expanding that skill set,
It's interesting, the car accident and something so tragic in that situation can turn into honestly something that you carry with you forever, where you appreciate life, you realize it gives you that jolt. And, in this case, it was a big jolt,
It was a huge jolt.
Yeah, to where it makes you realize what is important in life. And it actually can be a massive gift. I find that a lot of the people that I know that have been through major traumatic events like that had life-changing experiences, because so much of what we do, we get in our own way and we don't actually, grow the way we should grow because we're stuck in this, not fear loop, but, lack of growth because we're on this one direction and we can't see because we have these blinders on. And I think those types of experiences.
I think we can call it a fear loop. I can't. I mean, I really do. I feel like sometimes, we think that things are out of our reach. And I mean, I'm not saying that, fear isn't a bad thing. Fear wakes you up and goes, are you sure? Did you check your numbers again? As I've been growing as an investor, I went from flipping to developing, right? Which was a lot more risk, a lot more zeros. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night one time and getting into my spreadsheet and checking my numbers again, right? And fear does that, but you don't always have to listen to it. I guess that's the whole point. And sometimes we're lulled into this consent of
Right.
fear, right? So yeah,
And
it
I
is
think
good
that
to get out of that.
I think that fear really, can stop you from getting in the strides that you want to get to, right? Because I remember me, I was flipping houses for way too long, and I shouldn't have been, flipping what I was flipping out in, Tennessee, or, smaller deals where I wasn't making a lot per deal and stuff. And then I realized, wow, look how much more you can make and how much more bang for your buck with the same amount of work you can make on, going out and doing a multifamily or doing lending and a different strategy. And it was really just fear going, oh my God, that's way too big of dollars. That scares the heck out of me. Why would I buy anything above a $300,000 price point property in the Midwest somewhere versus multi-million dollar, multifamily deal that just seems like, no way, that's too big for me. And it's also a confidence thing too, right? Because you doubt yourself. Everybody doubts themselves. Everybody's just trying to make it and make sure it works. And it takes that extra push sometimes to push you to your limits, to say, hey, no, you are meant for more than this. And that doesn't mean you're gonna not take hits and not, falter sometimes. It just means that, hey, now you can actually take that step and you look at, what your life can be like once you get to that next level, and it can change your life, which is pretty incredible. So how did that change your life when you, obviously were in bed with a broken neck and, going through this? I can't believe, you said you were airlifted off. That's insane to me. And, being able to get through that on the other side, how much stronger did you feel after you were able to get through that and push through?
I think that I was so determined. Like, those kind of, I'll say I had an awakening, if for lack of a better word, like life is short. Like, you better make what you want of it. And I was so determined at that point, like, oh no, that I want to change this. And, and then hanging around people. In fact, you were one of the people that I met, like you go to these investment clubs, and granted at the investment clubs, there might be a lot of looky-loos, like I was at one point, right? But then you meet people who are actually doing business and who are actually getting passive income, and who, like, I was raised kind of, middle class, blue collar. Both my parents were immigrants, like keep your head down, work hard was like the theme of that family, right? And
Right.
so, this passive income, there's a scheme to it or whatever, right?
What's the get rich quick scheme that I'm involved in right now? Yeah,
Right,
that's all you're
exactly,
thinking in your head, right?
exactly. But then when you meet real people who are really doing it and who are really making it and who are making money that way, and it becomes like real, and then and it becomes accessible, right? And then you're like, well, then how do I do this? And then you start to take steps, and get education, and surrounding yourself with other people that are doing it is huge, right?
I agree.
There's a lot of us, especially, with the organization that you were involved with, I think you're still involved with Phoebe, like these are real investors,
Right.
really doing it, and I think that's really important.
I think, the Phoebe or for investors by investors or mastermind events and networking events where you're around like-minded people. It's not just the education that you can get from them. It's also seeing other ways other people make money. And it's also the emotional support, the positive energy that you can gain from that. Because a lot of the people there, granted, a lot of them want to make money, but there are a lot of people there too that are there just to find ways of helping everybody else. And you gain so many resources, right, for real estate or your projects, or you find the tools you need at these events, let alone that emotional support. So much of this is that emotional support, right? You can't get through things without having the right mindset. And you can't have the right mindset without being around the right people and having the right energy in place.
Yeah, it's absolutely that. And then you mentioned confidence, right? And, you start to gain confidence as you start to, gain your knowledge base and do more deals. And, and then that muscle starts to get exercised, and it's contagious. And then if you're hanging around other people doing other deals and we're all talking about problems that we have. Well, I've got this problem and, blah, 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 blah. And I've got an easement here and blah, 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 blah. And who has a fix for this? And
You
then,
deal with that, right?
yeah, you deal with it. And then your confidence starts to rise. So it's an ongoing process. And the benefits of owning real estate are just nothing, compared to owning brick and mortar business. It's
Right.
amazing. Wait.
I think people don't realize, the long-term benefits of the real estate piece. I've gained most of my wealth not through flipping, but through long-term appreciation. The flipping kept the lights on, kept the living going. It's a business, right? You're running a business, you're involved in it. It's trading time for money still, right? Unless you can actually go through and have other people doing that work for you, which is a whole nother trick as the entrepreneurial journey, right? Is how to delegate and bring the right teams in to do it for you. The other aspect though is being able to, to realize that, hey, what's your investment plan from the start? Do you have your active business, but what's your passive business too? And how are you going to build wealth without you working for it forever, right? Because how do you do that? And so you said you started by taking your flip profits and investing it into passive cash flow. I did the math. If I would have just bought the passive cash flow, I'd have over $50 million right now in equity on the amount of houses we flipped. And I shouldn't have done the math, but I did the math. I was like, oh, that just hurts. But so how did you start to do that and know, hey, what gave you the inclination to take your profits and invest them passively? And what did that do for you long term from a wealth standpoint?
Well, okay, so here's the lessons, right? The lessons learned. So when I first started, I wanted to invest and I wanted cash flow because, I got this idea because I was laid up. I was sick, right? I couldn't, and I was like, if I only had cash flow, then I wouldn't be so worried about my income coming in while I'm doing that. But I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to have a different life, and the cash flow was my outcome. So, I thought, okay, I want cash flow. Well, I live in Los Angeles. And at the time, I didn't even know that I couldn't get cash flow here. I was like everybody else, oh, I'll buy a house down the street. That way I can keep my eyes on it.
Yeah.
You have these ideas. And then I remember going to a real estate club and we were put in a group of people and I didn't have anything. And then somebody had one single family that they were making money off of. Somebody had something out of state and somebody had something out of country. Right. And I remember going home that night and just thinking about it and thinking, out of country, how does somebody do that?
It's so scary, right?
Yeah, so scary. And then, and it made out of state not seem so unreal, but it was really my awakening to risk mitigation. Like I realized it's my level of risk that thinks that I can't have something out of country. It's my level of risk that thinks that I can't manage something out of state. And then I had to
right?
mitigate my own risk. Like, okay, what would make me feel more comfortable having something out of state? Because if I can get cash flow there, that's what you've got to do. So I actually started going into markets that I am meeting people. I needed some comfort levels. I needed the right team together. I needed to know that, I needed some comfort and education in that. And so that's what I got. And that's what I started doing. Now, here's the pitfall, right? Okay, that was working. And if I had just continued that,
Yeah, way over here, right?
on a beach somewhere right now. But then my eyes grew and I was like, oh, I was starting to develop in Los Angeles. And then I was like, oh, multifamily, why make profit off of one door when you can have many doors? And then, I got into some deals that didn't necessarily work. And then I went places too. I mean, I have a bed and breakfast in Puerto Rico right now, and it's absolutely fun. And I love running it, and we've had that up and running for about a year and a half now. And, and it's been a different experience because it's the real estate with the business play,
Right.
But so I like some places that has taken me. And yet at the same time, if I had just continued buying single families.
and you've done some different development deals and things like that as well in the past, right? So how did you jump from, flipping a single family house or buying a rental in a single family to development? Because that
Yeah.
seems like a big scary jump for a lot of people. Like you go around your area that you live and you start seeing these big multifamilies or these, development projects happening, and you're going, wow, that's just amazing that someone has the guts to go and take that on, right? And the resources to do it too. How are you able to jump and do that from a
Well,
single family?
this is a very interesting story. So, during my real estate startings, like 5 years in, I realized I wanted to be around other women who were doing real estate, and I started the Women's Real Estate Network. And this is pre-COVID, so we had 12 chapters across the U.S. and it was great and it was booming. And because we were hanging around with other women investors, and it was just a wonderful inspiration to be around other women who were doing this. Now, I went up to our Seattle chapter to visit the chapter, and the woman who was speaking that month was a developer. And she gave a great speech. And I went up to her afterwards and I said, wow, you're a developer. You don't meet any women developers. Like, how'd you start? And she said, you're a flipper, right? And I said, yeah. And she's like, I was a flipper too. Developing is so much easier. And I went, what?
Like, how is that easier? What are you
I
talking about?
know. And she was like, all the work is up front, what you have to do to get it approved through the city and the engineers and blah, 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 blah. But once you start building, you just build up. It's not like rehabbing where you're really fixing problems every day, right? I think there was a moment for me that I was like, oh, she's telling me I could do this.
Mhm.
I think we have our thoughts of what it is that we're capable of. But it's not until you meet somebody who's just another woman, like me, and she figured out how to do this, and she's telling me I could do it too, right? And it's like, I came back to LA, and it's like when you're car shopping, and then all of a sudden you see that car everywhere. Like all of a sudden, I was seeing developments everywhere, and I was realizing that I could be involved in them. And I met another woman who had a different side of I had the flipping side, and I had the ability to put together the money, pretty easily.
Okay.
And she had a construction crew. And so we started buying single families that were zoned for multi and knocking them down and buying and building fourplexes.
Okay.
So we did that model in LA and Koreatown and quite a bit, and then we ran into COVID and we kind of stopped. But it was amazing, and you're right. It was a lot of work up front, detailed work up front in getting things through permitting and getting all the engineering, getting your expediters in place. But then once you start building, you're just building ground up, and it's pretty straightforward. But it was a lot more zeros, so there was a lot more growth. Growth, that's the word I'm searching for.
That's awesome. And I think what people don't realize is that, hey, if you're going to go and develop it, you're going to go do real estate deals, you're going to do something that's out of your comfort zone. You don't have to be the only one on the team that's helping with this scenario. And you can work with other people that have the resources that you don't, like capital partners or development partners or construction teams, or just, other people that are operators and helping manage the deals. And it's all about the team. The thing is, though, is it's very hard sometimes because when you rely on outside team members, they may not perform and they may not do what they're supposed to do. And that's a scary concept that we all have to learn, because I know I learned it the hard way. I know you learned it the hard way. Everybody learns it the hard way when they have a bad team member involved. And so how do you go about now, after learning the hard lessons of, bad team members, how do you go about doing the homework on these team members now to make sure that, hey, like, is it baby steps forward with each person individually and making sure that because I know I want to have as much control now as I can, because I don't trust that team member fully or any team members fully to do what I know to do to protect my investors, to make sure that deal works and things like that. Is there something that you do now differently than you did before?
Two things that I have definitely put in place since things go south with team people. Yeah. And one of them is, extensive conversations before you sign any kind of joint venture agreement or anything like that. And I'm not talking just about, all the successes. I'm talking about having conversations about anything that's been an obstacle, having conversations about, and letting them know, hey, by the way, I'm going to do a background check. And
Right.
is there something that's going to come up that you want to tell me about? Like, let's have that open conversation right
Right.
now, and also letting them know that I'm a trust and verify girl. Like, and that's who I am, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to ask you, did you do it? And then I'm going to ask you to verify that. And I'm not. It's not it's not necessarily all about accountability. I'm accountable too, right? And it's not just partners. Like, I mean, I'm talking about my property management team. They're
Contractors. Yeah.
they are essential in making sure that I make money.
Right.
And, so like, hey, I got a new water heater. That's fabulous. Send me a picture. Like, I don't trust anything, right?
Right.
Like, it's a trust and verify thing, and, I think I'm pretty upfront I am very upfront in making sure that people know that that's, how I operate and how I'd like to go forward in any kind of project. And so I think there's set a certain amount of expectations
Mhm.
that, weed out anybody who's not ready to participate that way. And that's
Right.
fine.
I think that's really important, the verification stuff, because we went through we've started businesses in multiple markets on rental properties and went through like 5 managers on every freaking market that we've been involved with. Contractors have stolen thousands and thousands of dollars from us, and now it's great, like you said, the water heater's going in. I want a receipt and a picture so that I know you didn't put some used unit in and just clean it up, or didn't do the work. We've been stolen from by one contractor for over $500,000. It was purposeful theft, and he literally did it to where all the paperwork looked perfect. It was all doctored and things like that, and fake pictures. And now it's like, okay, well, every time we're actually sending an outside party to verify, not just relying on even pictures anymore, because of things like that have occurred in our past where it hurt so bad that now you have to say, no, this is the new procedure. That's never happening again. And that's how you learn to take those hits. And now, the background checks are a great tool to use that would have saved my butt on that one contractor. And I do it every time now. And now we even go and hire a private investigator to go do more research, especially if we have a really closely held partner, because it's so important. I don't know that I necessarily know everything about reading a background check. I can see if I find anything, but what if I'm missing something? What if the background check doesn't pick something up, right? And some of the really good con artists, you're not going to find it. So being very careful on that side is absolutely a key. And, one of the things that I think is important is teaching other people about the losses and the headaches and the trials and tribulations you've been through. I really love teaching other dads how to create freedom in their life so they can spend more time with their kids, because in the beginning, I'm working so hard that I'm like, oh my goodness, I spent way too much time working and spending time with my kids when they're, 2 years old and 1 years old and 3 years old. Because in my mind, I'm going, I got to provide. Oh my God, my kids, and it's the most important thing, and I relate to other fathers like that. And you have a unique strategy and you love helping other women because, it's just is not as prevalent in the real estate space. You have a lot of men in this space. And I think from what you've told me in the past, I think women need that empowerment to know that they can have the confidence to do this themselves and have that power too. What gives you that passion to help other women, and how do people reach you when they're trying to, get involved in your REN group and things like that?
Right. I think it was me actually going through a hard time that brought me together with other women. I was flipping at the time, and some of the hedge funds had come in and they were buying up all the properties, and I was having a really hard time securing property, and I was just kind of like in a whiny mode, to be honest. And I was like, where are my other girls? I want to surround myself with other women. And I brought together some women at a brunch, and we just started uplifting each other and helping each other and giving each other, accolades for continuing in their journey and that kind of thing. And then we all started meeting on a regular basis, and there was usually wine involved. I'll be very, very honest. But it was so great to see all these other women who were, because they weren't all flippers either. They were a variety of different asset class managers. And it was just really great to be around them and hear about things and also have a place where we could bring our problems, right? I mean, I think you kind of,
Very
when
important.
you become a real estate investor or any kind of entrepreneur, you're saying yes to being a problem solver. And I jokingly say my phone doesn't ring unless there's a problem on the other end. Like when my tenants are paying their rent, I don't hear from anybody. Like when the job sites are going great, I don't hear from anybody. But my phone only rings when there's a problem. So you got to know that when the phone rings, you're on. You're a problem solver. So get those creative juices flowing and get those problems solved. And being around other people that support that and understand that and having those women friends that I can go to and reach out to is great. So we have a network of women that we offer education and coaching to, and it's you can go to reninspires.com, WREN. It's the Women's Real Estate Network, inspires.com, or follow us on social media. We have monthly meetings, and usually it's a woman's talking about her business model. Last month, it was a woman who does midterm rentals to people who are displaced from their homes. So her whole, thing is getting into the insurance companies and making sure that she's on the insurance company list for her midterm rentals. So it's like, so it's different every month, and you just come and you get to know everybody and yeah, become part of the community.
That's awesome. And to be able to see other women that are actually operating at a really high level has got to inspire a lot of new investors and new people to the industry, that really enables them mentally to say, hey, we can do this too. I know it helped me just going to these events, let alone having a connection with other women like that and being able to really help them. So it's inspiring to see, you're focusing on helping the people that you feel like need the, I'll say, confidence to push
Yeah.
forward in this, and that have not historically been represented fully in the real estate space.
Yeah, and confidence is a huge thing for women, especially because we're really great shoppers. Don't know if you know that.
I have a wife. Trust me, the Amazon boxes don't stop. So
Yeah, we're really great shoppers. We can we know the average price of something and we know when it goes on sale and we know when it's a good buy, right?
yes,
Like there's no doubt about that. But it's really interesting when the price tag goes up to say a property. That's when the confidence that we lend each other comes into play. Right? Because we have to lend each other confidence and go, no, you know this, that's a good deal, go for it, and I think there's a synergy to that. So we jokingly say we lend our confidence to each other. So
that's absolutely awesome. And that's reninspires.com, correct?
yep, it is.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Deborah. This has been really, really great to understand how you're helping other women and how you're able to empower them and be able to help them achieve financial freedom. It's really, really cool. And, the trials and tribulations you went through is helping so many people going forward. It's really inspiring. Ren inspires. There you go. So, and the cliche, but
Right.
at the end of the day, I think you learning those lessons and being able to show other people how to not have to take those hard lessons is really, really great to do for society as a whole and other people. And we do a lot of the same thing. We use a 200-point due diligence checklist for all of our deals when we're doing homework on when we're investing with other people or doing our own homework on our own deals. We can actually download that at our website, MathewOwens.com. It's all free for people, and so we just try to teach people the same way. Feel free to utilize any of that stuff for your women's network as well. And thank you so much again for coming. We really appreciate you coming on and teaching other people.
Oh, thank you, Matthew. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Do you want to learn how to create financial freedom in your life through real estate and take your investing business to the next level? If so, you can follow us in one of the following ways. First, you can take one of our free webinars on how to analyze property, how to raise capital for real estate, and how to market and find deals. 3 of the key pillars to becoming a successful real estate investor. Number 2, you can join us on our mailing list where you'll get tips and tricks on real estate investing directly to your inbox. And number 3, you can take our 6-month real estate course that teaches you every aspect of real estate investing you can think of, and more importantly, create financial freedom in your life through real estate investing strategies that I teach. If you want a master's in real estate in 6 months, this course is for you. We're going to go over how to raise money, promissory notes, syndications, fixing and flipping, buy and hold investing, tax and legal structures, self-directed retirement accounts, financial education, how to run a business, how to market and find your deals, and most importantly, how to create that financial freedom in your life so that you can stop trading your time for money and create passive real estate cash flow that you can live off of. If you're interested, go ahead and click on one of the links below, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the other side.